Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Question It. It's our second episode. Thank you so much for the great feedback last week. You can catch us on YouTube again, and you can catch us on Apple Podcasts. Now we've got our same team back, bar one, which is really, really exciting. We've got actress, singer, voiceover artist Jennifer Siang. We've got actress and writer Donna Preston. We've got actress and presenter Sarah Jane Honeywell. We've got director, filmmaker Leon Lopez, and Tank Top in Hollyoaks.
Oh, you're such a...
This is what we do now. A good job. So he doesn't forget that he was once an actor. Brilliant. And somebody is just, I love this man. When I first met him, he's just so incredible. And he's a poet, spoken word artist, and he's an activist. And when you couldn't love him anymore, I found out for the first time yesterday that he's actually a nurse. I mean, he's just incredible. I mean, please, it's Nash Paragon Langley. Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey.
And Nash released a really incredible video last week called Are You Uncomfortable? And we're going to have a look at it and then we're going to discuss afterwards. Yeah, let's take a look.
Are you uncomfortable with the fact celebrities buy black bodies like commodities? Are you uncomfortable with the number of dead black bodies during COVID-19? Are you uncomfortable with the fact we won't let this go? Are you uncomfortable enough to lower your voice when you use the word black to describe a person? Are you uncomfortable knowing they used our peaceful protest to execute us in 8 minutes? Are you uncomfortable knowing they swapped the rope for a knee on blooded streets? Are you uncomfortable with stop and search? Are you uncomfortable with the fear mothers feel when their black sons leave the house? Are you uncomfortable with the words, I can't breathe? Are you more uncomfortable with the looting or the murder? Are you uncomfortable? Are you uncomfortable yet? Are you fucking uncomfortable?
We don't wanna have to wait another year. We don't wanna have to cry another year.
It's just so powerful. Nash, please tell me tell us all the story behind it.
So that wasn't made to sound like exasperated, but it's just I was in bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. It was really sort of like within that first sort of like 7 days after the George Floyd killings, and we were starting to see like protests slightly pop up here and there. But what was happening is there was this. Sorry, I found myself going between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the news. And I found myself getting more and more sort of like worked up and uncomfortable with the whole situation, so much so that I was on the ward. And I was talking to some of the nurses there and I started crying. So anyway, I come off shift, I go home and I try to sleep that night, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I can't sleep. I'm uncomfortable and I don't understand what it is. And my other half is like slept right next to me, and he's fast asleep, sound asleep. And in my head, I'm like, how can you be asleep at this moment? I'm so angry, but I'm not angry at him per se. I'm angry at the fact that other people don't have to feel this. Like other people just don't have, it doesn't have to register for them. And so I wrote a post on Facebook, which was really angry, but it wasn't accusing anybody of anything. It was literally just asking people like, look, are you uncomfortable with this? Or if you're not uncomfortable with that, are you uncomfortable with this? Are you uncomfortable with this? And just like, it was just like all these things that I was uncomfortable with. Why aren't you? So then I write a lot. So anyway, there was a bit of another poem anyway that I had written a while back, because like a lot of people think that I'm just coming to this kind of concept now, and it's not. It's something that I've been writing over the last sort of like 6 years or 7 years. You know what I mean? I've been writing for 10, and it started off gay, and then I was like, oh, okay, I'm bored with that. No, but like it's like I said all I can say on that subject, because there are so many other people fighting for that, and I just feel like kind of like as a black gay man, people have stopped fighting for us, and everyone's comfortable because they've kind of got a bit of privilege now. And yeah, so that's kind of where it all sort of came from. And I had a friend reach out to me and be like, look, your post has kind of made me think a little bit and has made me uncomfortable, because I think the first post I put was, white people, you're mighty quiet. Because I see friends post up for anything, like literally for anything. And it's like, okay, cool. But you're seeing people, my kin, die on a daily. And you're not saying anything. You're not doing anything. Like, what is that? Why aren't you? Like we're supposed to be, like, if we're supposed to be one race and all this sort of stuff, why aren't you saying anything? Like, you will come and say to me, oh, it's not black and white, we're all one race, we're all one family. But you're silent. You're completely silent. So what is that? Why aren't you saying? And this is where it all came from. Anyway, that was a long story into that little bit. But yeah.
Can I ask, sorry, just because I was a little bit involved in the process afterwards, can you tell us a little bit more about the people who were involved and stuff in making it happen?
Right,
like,
okay,
music-wise?
So I had a friend of mine, Sam Lont, who's a great DJ, and I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves on the scene. And he is someone that I've got a lot of appreciation for, because he is, and not that I feel I have to teach him anything, but he will hold his hands up and say, I don't know, can you point me in the direction of something? And at this point here, he was like, look, I have an idea. I've seen your post, I have an idea. Do you have anything else to make a first verse? And we sat down and we created that. And then there was another young girl that I used to teach poetry to at Raw London, shout out to them. And Izzy, beautiful soul, beautiful young girl. And I was like, look, could you write a chorus for this, please? Could you put something together? And we were kind of sat in the studio together and just kind of vibing and working on something. And what came out is what came out. And you'll see her in the video. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. She's such a sweetheart. And then Leon had reached out to me, I think like a few days before we actually recorded the piece, and was like, look, I want to do something. I'm not sure what it is we can do. So we recorded this, and I was like, Sam wanted to record the video, and I was like, no, Sam, I love you, but you produce, like, and that's your specialty there, right? Let me get someone that knows how to direct, knows how to film this properly. Like, I have someone close that is in the industry that knows the job and really wants to create something. Like, and I'm quite, like, you know, when you've got something, when you've got your own child and you're quite happy to sort of say, like, look, I know you can help this have impact. So you hand it over to them. And that's what I was like. So I had to hand over the poem to him first to create the track. And we have to hand the track over to Leon to create the video. And it's like, yeah, it was just, I don't want to say perfect storm, but it was just a coming together of creatives and artists trying to create something in a moment. It's just, yeah.
Oh,
Nash, I thought it was amazing that you actually had a white singer sing because it was cohesive, and I think as well the audience don't feel completely excluded in a way that I could, or attacked. It was like, hang on, we're all in this together, and I think that's what I got from it. It was amazing. What Sarah, Donna, Jen, tell me what you think. Jen, go first.
Oh my God, I just even don't know where to start. I mean, first I just feel like I'm going to leave because I'm not a nurse and I don't teach people poetry. And inadequate right now. So, I mean, it's amazing. God, I feel quite emotional as well because of all this stuff that's going on with the arts at the minute. And you are just like rising above it all and still creating.
Oh, Jen, because you're going to make me emotional. We can't cry on the second episode.
Oh, Lord. I wasn't intending to, gosh. What can I say? Just, really powerful. And more even, I'd love you to we had a sort of like pre-chat and you were starting to talk about your younger brother. And I think that was really something powerful. And actually, I think that's what's got me. So maybe you could just talk about that for a second, Nash.
So me and my brother have had a tenuous relationship ever since we were kids. He was the he was the smart, intellectual one, and the one that, it's going to sound so wrong, but the one that I looked up to. And I was like, oh, how does he manage to fit his life together and do it all? Because I was a mess.
And this is your older
Genuinely
brother?
as a mess. No, younger brother.
Oh, both
Younger brother. Yeah.
Cool. Wow.
So my younger, no, this is the same person. So my younger brother has always been, he's always just gone up. He's risen. And like, I always knew to him, like, he viewed me as kind of a waste. But today, like, for example, like, he never says anything nice to me. I love him. I love him. And I yeah, do you know what I mean? And I know he loves me, but actually he put a message up today, like, just saying, like, how proud he was and how good he thought, like, the work that I was doing is. And, you know, he brought up my younger, well, not my younger, because I wouldn't have an older nephew, but he brought up my nephew, who's 9 at the moment. And like, when I started changing my life around and started writing and stuff, it's, if you look, I was saying that I've been writing for about 10 years. My nephew's coming up to 10 this year. So he's kind of the catalyst for all of this. And I worry. I'm really scared, like, genuinely frightened, because he's now getting to that age where he stops being seen as an innocent young boy and starts being seen as a threat to society, or not society, but a threat in general, when you're out. And I'm really scared for that, because, like, he has such a brightness, and he brought the whole family together. Like, I mean, we were fragmented, and he brought this whole family together. And to see that young vibrancy, and to know that in a couple of years, society is going to completely rip that from him. And he's gonna, and, you know, and I've tried to, there was a book that I tried to buy him, or I bought him before, that was, which was Young, Black and Gifted, and all of these types of books, to make sure that he understands that he is not what the media says he is. He is not a thug. He is not, okay, yes, he's vibrant and he's energetic, but sometimes those things are mistaken in the outside world for
really
anger
important. Really important point you made, particularly about that young, innocent child being born into your family, bringing everyone together in that way, and then just completely out of his control, almost nothing to do with him other than the way he looks. That, like you say, that is just stripped from him at some point in his life when he reaches a certain age. Like, that for me is like, yeah, I don't know what the word is. It's unthinkable, isn't it?
Well,
it's horrible.
And it's privilege, and that's what people really still are misunderstanding the white privilege thing. I'm not privileged, and it's a sort of, it's Sarah Jane's sons who won't have to go through that.
I think
shift.
That's what made me emotional about the video, was the little girl at the end is, and I've got 2 boys, but I can't even, just thinking of it now, it makes me shake, because it's, to see a child sob like that because of those reasons was just heartbreaking. And then you said about Black mothers fearing every time their sons go out, and I was like, I know I'll be nervous when my kids go out. And like you say, they're lively, they're 4 and 2, and they are lively. And my oldest one swears, he's really naughty and everything, but he is never going to be construed in the same way that a young Black or mixed race man would be. And I didn't realise that. I really didn't realise that. I was very ignorant to that. And I'm cross with myself for not thinking that far outside my own white privilege.
Well, Sarah, you shouldn't be. That's another thing. It's not about a victim. When you shouldn't feel bad about something. But the thing is, I don't know if I said it last week. It's a case of going, you know, we say ignorance isn't an excuse, but of course ignorance can be an excuse. But once you know something, then to not do anything about it afterwards makes you bad. But you're aware of it now, and you do know. You didn't know before. So it's like, don't feel bad about anything. Just be enlightened by it. It's all about enlightenment, this whole thing, and then we move on.
I suppose for me, the feeling bad is actually acknowledging it, though, and going, hey, it's like having a word with myself. And you're so sweet for protecting me and going, don't feel bad, but I should feel bad, actually. I should, as a human being in this day and age, I'm quite well educated. I should feel bad, and I should. And if I don't feel bad, then there's something wrong with me. And it's in feeling bad that I go, oh, I'm not going to do that again. So I know you're being so kind.
No,
But
because I'm going to cry today.
I think the feeling bad should only maybe really come after hearing something, acknowledging it, and then not doing anything about it, or not changing, or not trying to move forward in some way, learning, then feel bad.
Can I substitute that word? And there's a reason I use the word uncomfortable in the video, because I don't want people to feel bad, but you should feel uncomfortable. And I really want you to really change that idea, because it's not. And I think because if we're talking about racism, then I want people to stop feeling bad, and I want people to feel uncomfortable. Because when you're uncomfortable, you're more willing to change things. When you feel bad, you're more likely to be defensive.
Yes.
And that's why, for example, I really try not to accuse anybody in the track. And it's really asking people to ask themselves that question, like you do. And you sort of say to yourself, okay, look, so I've got kids, but will I ever feel that fear that they? So that's what.
Obviously, I'll worry that they're going to do something stupid and they'll go driving and they'll do all of that. But I'm not going to worry that the police are going to come down heavy on them. I'm not going to worry that people are going to abuse them and call them names that they'll find hurtful. I'm not going to worry that they sometimes might not even understand where they fit in. I'm not, because we live in Lincoln, so it's very white. I don't have any of those worries, and so you can easily trip along with your little life, loving yourself. But I think as human beings, we have to. It's good to feel uncomfortable and do something about it.
I think it was really interesting this week. There's been loads. It's been a barrage, isn't it? Which is quite rightly so. Charlene White, the news reader on ITV, I love her, and she basically said that her 70-year-old auntie was called a nigger walking down the street, screamed from a car, and then it was seeing all of the comments underneath, and there was an 11-year-old boy walking down the street going home, and he ran home in tears because he'd been called a nigger. And it's like, wow, what is this? It's sort of, where is this safe space in society that we feel that we can just actually randomly wind down the window and go, nigger? I'm really, that's why, what is this? Nash, where are we?
Okay, so that there is because people, for me personally, I do that because people aren't called out by their kin. And when I say kin, I want to be, I'm trying to, people aren't called out by people in their own race, because I can't change racism in the white community, because those people will still be racist towards me, right? But when those people are being racist, are other white people calling them out? Will they say, no, don't say that? Shoot, there are people in my family that I've had to call out for being racist, not racist intentionally, but saying something that they thought was funny or whatever, but it's got racist tinges in it. And you've got to put yourself in that really uncomfortable position to turn around and say, no, 1 second, you can't say that. You can't do that, especially while I'm here. Because if I catch you saying that, I'm going to say something. And the more people that do that, the less space there is for people to feel that they can say these things. And it's...
What sometimes happens, because I'm even though I'm small, I'm well gobby, as Ash knows. I'm not in a horrible way, but I just don't like injustice, and I don't like people to be picked on or bullied for any reason. And so I know I've been in a situation before where, like some young white lads have been bantering with, say, like a black actor, and they've said things, and I've been like, I don't think you should say that. And then the black actor will go, oh no, it's all right. And then I feel bad because I think, well, I didn't really have a place. You don't know where your place is to say something and put your foot down. But I have kind of gone, well, I don't like it. And then I felt really awkward going, oh no, now have I actually been worse than they have been to that black guy because I've jumped in for his cause when I know nothing about his cause. I think that's what sometimes is complicated for white people.
Donna, what's your experience around around this?
Or also, can I ask as well, Donna, with your experience, can you also, what was your, when you saw Nash's video, what did you think of that as well?
Well, first of all, I think it was incredible. And I definitely felt very uncomfortable watching it in a good way, if you can have that in a good way. Can I just say, it looks like I'm in a disco. I'm really not. It's just a light, but I'm absolutely loving it. I just coming back on what you said before, Nash, about like, you know, the social media aspect of it. Like I actually haven't shared a lot because I feel uncomfortable, and I know silence is violence, but I feel uncomfortable, and this is the reason why. So many years ago, I did a photo shoot, and it was for the Tate, and it was about being one race, and it was different races, basically interchanging them. So I was Caucasian, being blacked up as a Nigerian lady. For me, I was like, I love this project, to the point where I didn't even get paid for it. It was a passion project. That haunted me because goodness gracious, as soon as people saw it, they were like, how dare you black up? They weren't seeing the context of it. So therefore, I just feel like I know what I know. But I am terrified of speaking up, as it were, because I'm not articulate enough, because I've never been in this situation. Do you know what I mean? I've never experienced racism with my black friends. Because maybe that's where I've been brought up, or I don't know. But I'm actually quite scared about speaking up, and that I'm disgusted with myself, to be honest. So that's, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Are you scared, are you scared of offending white people or black people or both?
Oh no. I think I don't know the words. And this is why, you know, when this happened to George Floyd, I came off social media because it was too much for my head. I wanted to scream, and I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what to say. I don't know. It's very, very odd. And I should have said something, but I didn't. Like I say, I didn't know what to say. But of course, behind the whole social media and stuff, I'm still educating myself every day about it. But yeah, I would like to know your thoughts on this. Maybe I should go to my black friend and go, "Hey, babe, what should I put on my status today?"
Okay, so
hey.
so in regards to the blackface, I don't know how to comment because I don't know what the full work was, if that makes sense. I haven't seen the full work to truly understand. I mean, I guess a lot of people will turn around and say, like, you could show like respect to other cultures or African culture without necessarily the blackface, right? Without having to paint out. And but this is the thing. It's so with art, and I'm not talking about television. I'm not talking about music. But what I'm talking about is actual art, paintings, photography, and those types of things. It's so sometimes hard to call this stuff, because at what point does it stop being art and it starts being offensive? And I think that's the kind of fear I have. And it's not for me to say that blackface is good in this context or bad in that context. It's just I don't want to come out and say you were a bad person, because I don't think you were I don't think you're a bad person. In fact,
I don't know. I don't think I am, Nash.
You're not a bad. You're not,
Lord!
You're not a bad person, but like, you know, you were in, and this is what I want people to get away from, is this idea that racism means you are a bad person. There are things that you may do in life that will offend people. But the thing is to know that, okay, fine, this has turned out offensive. I shouldn't do this again.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the most important part. Because it's one thing to know that something's offensive and then go do it again, which means obviously you didn't learn from that lesson. But that's my point. And this is why I want people to get away from this idea of racism is bad. Sometimes you don't know what you're doing is going to offend. When someone says to you, that's offensive, then actually it's I saw someone post up something which says, why are we even debating abolish or getting rid of, why is getting rid of racism a debate? Like why are we debating? Like why do we debate things like sexism? Like what is it we're debating? Like treating people with respect? Like I don't understand what it is. Like
can I jump in quickly?
Yeah, of course,
Sorry,
of course.
So my thing with the Donna thing again, I feel like I'm not just being like, oh, defending everybody or don't feel bad. It's not about that. But the thing with what we've got to a thing that I think we need to always remember is we're looking things retrospectively of what times were different. It doesn't mean things were right, but Donna, somebody's come to you and said, we've got this job. You know, the whole cultural context of the old idea of cultural appropriation stuff wasn't around at the time. People weren't aware of it. Someone's come to you and sold you a thing of everybody, all different nations, we're all going to paint everybody different colors and, you know, just show that we're all one. So somebody sells you something and you go, wow, that's a great idea. I want to be part of it. You do it. Yeah. And then you look at it. So it's not a case of you can't feel bad about doing something that you thought was a good cause at the time. And also, it is a case of, maybe it is a case of, you know, is it, I mean, obviously it's hard because you're in the public eye, but making awareness of it as you are now, it's like, I did this thing then, I know it was bad, I'd never do it again. It's like, but that we all make mistakes. How many times have we done jobs as actors that we thought are going to be great, and you look at it, it mightn't even necessarily be offensive, but actually, we did the RSC, we did the Rover, we did a play called the Rover, and I'm going to call it out, but like, it was meant to be, the director decided to place it in Latin America, and they'd hired a load of us of color, all different races. There was somebody who was from like a part Moroccan, there was mixed race, there was black. And we're like, oh, great. But every one of the lead cast members was white, apart from one person who, again, it was like, he was a great actor, phenomenal actor. But it was almost like, well, we've got our token lead, we're setting it in Latin America. And he wasn't even one of the people who was based in Latin America. He was one of the people who were the foreigners coming in. But all the people who were the locals pulling on chairs were black people. But the fact that this director couldn't really see that, it was like, that's highly offensive. Kids are going to be coming seeing this going, oh, well, all the people with like the bit parts carrying stuff on are black and you're sitting in this world. But again, when the idea was sold to us, it's great. It's not until it's in practice that you realize, actually, this is wrong. And then recently they asked if we could put it, if they could put it on, you know, for a live production. And I was like, well, if you want to put it on, you can, but you're not having my permission to put it on. I don't agree with it, because it wasn't just about the cultural stuff. It was also about, you know, it was misogynistic, all these things that we realized. It's like, I get it. You want to put this, it got 5-star reviews in massive newspapers. But I was like, I don't.
Who's reviewing it?
Exactly. And my thing was, it was a great production. It was not a great production. It was terrible. I do not want to be, I'm not saying, yes, I give you permission to I do not want to appear in that. I don't. And again, it's like all the cast members got asked. Some people were like, fine. Some people weren't. It wasn't just me who said no. But it was a case of, actually, I felt a bit bad just thinking, you know, people not having an opportunity to showcase themselves on that way. For them, I feel bad for you, love, but actually I don't feel bad for not allowing the production to go, and it was wrong. Do you know what I mean? So, but as if I would have said, oh yeah, put it on, then I wouldn't have been, you know, using my voice in a positive way. Whereas you, Donna, getting back to the point, you know that was wrong. You're saying, I know it was wrong now, looking back, but at the time, I thought I was part of a really good project.
I really thought I was, and the photographer is black. And, you know, he told me his story, and I really, really wanted to be a part of this. However, when you just see a still of white Donna and then a Nigerian Donna, of course you're gonna go, what the chuff is this? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What are you doing? Like I say, there was no context, and it just spiraled out of control, and I was just like, Lord God, Jesus Christ! Get me out of this shit! Get me out of it!
Donna, what I'm going to say.
Is that your Nigerian accent, Donna?
No. Oh my God. No. Ah! No.
No,
Sorry,
go
Nash.
on.
Jennifer.
What was
Oh,
that you were going to say?
gracious.
So I was going to say to you, Donna. Right, here's the thing. You know how
Oh
earlier,
goodness, what's
like,
happening now? Yeah.
no. It's nothing bad. It's
It's
you
all
know how you were
love.
saying,
It's
like,
all love.
sometimes,
Okay.
you know how sometimes you're saying, like, I don't know what it is to say. If someone was to come to you with that back then, you didn't know. But if someone was to come to you with that project now, regardless of whether they're black or not, the likelihood is you're going to turn around and say no, because I feel that people are going to take this offensively, and I shouldn't be. You know, if you want to do that, and this is going to sound so no. In fact, I'm not going to say it. But like,
No,
if you
say
want to
it.
do
No,
that,
say
then,
it. Say it.
but what?
Say
So
it.
I was going
Nash.
to say, so, you know, if you want to do something like that, then maybe use someone that is black, but maybe albino, and do those color differences there with someone that is black, and use those situations there, rather than. But this is why I'm kind of like, maybe that's a bit offensive to people that are albino, in, you know, because maybe, you know, not even maybe, they are happy with themselves. But I don't think that's necessarily. I mean, if someone came to you with that project, then that's someone that is
The
by
point
blood
is
black.
you can think outside the box a little bit more.
Yeah, than going for that. I just, but that's where those are those moments there where you can turn around and say, like, no, I don't think this is appropriate. Regardless, sometimes if the person is, because they may not necessarily, they will see that project, but not see how impactful some of the people within their project may be. Like, I was really worried at first. I was very worried at first, because I was really worried with the video that people were going to come for Izzy. Because this was me talking about black issues, and I had a young white girl singing the chorus, and I was really worried. But I'm so glad that people have not responded that way, and they've responded in a way that is like, thank you. This shows it's not just, you know, it's racists against or non-racist against racists.
Even when we were filming it on the day, do you remember? It's like, poor bless her, she's really sweet, and she was like, "Oh, you know, it's not my video, it's not my video." And we were saying to her, "It's your video, it is your video." Oh yeah, don't worry about me. It's like, you know, because it's like, but you are. This is you. It's your story. It's part of your story. You are part of it. It's, as you say, it's not whites against blacks, blacks against whites. It's non-racist against racists. That's the thing. So, and it was really great to say, you know, Sam's white. He's not black. But again, it's not about. This isn't just a black thing, it's a racist thing. So it's kind of, and it's really important that we showcased her in the same way. And you know, she worked hard. She looks great in the video as well. And you know, it all adds to the message.
I just want to say to Donna,
oh Lord, yes. Hey baby, hey baby, what are you gonna say? Oh Lord,
is that your Jamaican accent, Donna? I'm joking.
Oh God,
gracious.
On the whole social thing and not posting, like, I find it's really interesting that you're a person you are, with the sort of following you have and the talent and the voice that you have, and you feel uncomfortable about writing posts, and I completely understand why. And that teaches me a lot about people who aren't in your position and would feel exactly the same way, and also not be doing posts or whatever. But I do think also social media is one thing, isn't it? And that's one way of having a voice and having a say. And I think from what you've said, you know, you would turn down the same project that came around again today. And is it a question? I don't know, but I'm sure you're educating people. Being on this in itself is, you know, one thing that you are doing. As I say, social media is one thing, and I'm sure you're speaking, I don't know, to close mates and people sort of in your close vicinity about things as well. And like, social media doesn't have to be everything.
No, absolutely. Like I say, I'm learning every single day, and just going back to what we were talking about last week. You know, I grew up in Yorkshire, so moving down to London, like it was a massive cultural shock to me, but I find it very exciting. So but unfortunately I've never, like I said before, I have never been in these situations where with my friends I've never seen racism. So all of these things that you guys are telling me and what I'm seeing in the media on everything, I just go, what the chuff? I can't get my head around it. I can't, and I get angry, and because I've never seen it. I've never seen it, and and I don't want to see it, obviously, but it's good to know about this stuff, and it's all about education. It's all about education.
What about you, Ashley? You haven't said anything about your opinion.
Well,
can I ask a question, Ash? Sorry, maybe
yeah.
this will be a good way for you to answer, but I wondered if you felt uncomfortable.
Did I feel? Do you know, when I first watched it, I must say I did feel uncomfortable. Actually, I felt
really?
just because of this toe the line narrative that I've got in this toe the line. You know, keep it. You know, don't cause too much of a fuss thing that I've had over the years. That I've like, even when Leon was talking about the RSC play, I remember I was so psyched that I got into the Royal Shakespeare Company. I was like, I'll do anything. I don't care. And then it was only halfway through, and there were many incidents on that job actually that became quite tricky around race and around the way that we were treated as well. It was like all the all the black people were prostitutes and pimps, and then the leads were these really glamorous. I mean, they were amazing white people, and so because of that, I'm having to undo it. And when I watched it, there were so many things that you said, and it was only when you really screamed, "Are you fucking uncomfortable yet?" at the end, I was like, wow. But I watched it 4 times, and actually by the second time, I wasn't. I was fully, but I could see that how a white person, or westernized in that way of sort of like keeping it all safe so you get on. I could see how you could fall into that trap. Do you get me, Nash?
Totally.
Yeah, no, yeah, completely. That's it.
And I
That's
hate
it.
myself for it as well, for feeling like, because I feel like why? But it's just because that's the way that I've programmed myself.
Also,
You know what I mean?
let's use Nash's language now, which I love. Let's get rid of hate. Let's get rid of feeling bad. And it's like I felt uncomfortable with it because I think a lot of the issues that we have at the moment are the wrong phrasing and words. Like I had one of my other really good friends. We were talking about stuff, and I was saying white privilege is the wrong wording because, you know, if it was more like white advantage because you have an advantage of being white, and like, well, why should we change the wordings? And the wording's what it is. I'm like, well, who came up with it in the first place? It's like, okay, it is what it is. The meaning's what it is. But when you've got something that can have so many different connotations, or it's got such a negative attachment to it, then what happens is people will rebel and backlash. You know, if I hate myself and feel bad, whereas actually I feel uncomfortable about something. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's like I'm not doing a campaign to change white privilege to white advantage, even though I do think it would be better and the marketing idea behind it would be better. But, you know, that's the thing that we have to reprogram ourselves with.
And going back to, gosh, we shouldn't keep talking about them actually, but going back to meetings at work where you have diversity meetings and you're all sat around the table and you're sat around with a whole white creative team, white cast, you're the only black person there, and you're sat there, or there'll be a black person, an Asian person, and then all of the heads kind of turn to you. Diversity, and you're like, well, actually, how do we unpick this?
Yeah.
And then actually it should be inclusion, because when you're then sitting there, and I remember a really great friend of mine, white actress, who's over 50, she's a bigger woman, and she was like, well, I'm not working, I'm finding it hard for me because, and it was like, how do we then just go inclusion? Do you know what I mean? So what advantage, inclusion, instead of, because then everybody feels they've got a voice, nobody's sort of getting into these sniping matches with each other.
But I think you see that there, that whole sort of, because this is the thing, when you are the only black person or the only person of color in a room, people treat you as a monolith, that you're able to speak for the whole black community. And you're not able to do that because our experiences are so different and so vast. It's when we talk, for example, it's the same way, for example, Africa is spoken about as a country.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's many countries with many different cultures. Like, I'm from the South, I'm from Zimbabwe, and right next door to us is South Africa, but our cultures are so different. Like, it's like trying to compare. I mean, look at us here in the UK and France across the river, okay, across the water, across the sea. So But look at how different, and we've had such a close connected like relationship over the centuries, but our cultures are so different. So you can't speak for anybody else apart from yourself, and we need to get away from that, because we've been taught, for example, the reason we get angry when we see someone black on the streets not smiling is because we know that they're not smiling has an impact, because we're viewed the same, if that makes sense. So then we try to, but we have to turn around and say, well, no, actually, I have to get comfortable with the fact that I'm different. If he smiles, I've got to treat this like that's him. That's whatever that person does along the street has nothing to do with me. And we've got to start shouting that. Sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but
no, I don't think it's a tangent. I think, you know, we just want an even keel, actually.
Yeah. It's and also, I remember working at the BBC, and they were like really going into one, the producers were really going into one about making sure that we've got ethnic names and all of that. And I was like, yeah, we absolutely should. And, you know, of course they made sure that there was representation on the face of the TV. But I remember sitting there one day with one of the producers and looking behind the scenes and looking at the cameramen and the directors and the producers, and I actually said to the head producer, which is probably why I don't work anymore, I actually said to her, I think it's great that there is so much diversity in front of the camera. I think it's disgraceful that there's none whatsoever behind the camera, because we had one black guy that was an electrician, and the only other black faces at the BBC that I saw when I was working at, it was only CB because it wasn't a huge deal, were the cleaners, not directors and producers and people that would be able to impart all of this knowledge, this this other view to our children. Children, it's so important that our children have a big diverse view of the world. And yet,
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, like if you take something like filming, let's take filming. Having people behind the camera that understand how to film black skin and how to get it to shine and how to get the light to bounce off it is really important, because otherwise what you end up having is this type of thing where, okay, fine, there are black people that are there on the screen or whatever, but they're always dull. They're always kind of toned down. They're not allowed to shine the way their white counterparts are, right? And these little things have an impact when some young black kid is watching that TV. Why is it that I can see very little features? So then what you then end up having is people not liking certain shades of brown because they don't see them, etc., etc., etc. And this leads down so many routes, but this is why it's so important. It's great, have people on the front of the camera, brilliant, actually wonderful, we're doing something. But if you don't know how to utilize those people on the in front of the camera properly, because there's no one that actually understands them behind the camera.
Yes.
It's a completely the thing is, it's like working in film and television. You can't light white people the same as you like dark skinned people. You can't light a dark skinned person the same as you'd light a mixed race person. It's completely different. It's a different skill. But what happens is you've got a lot of these big massive institutions who are employing like really phenomenal DOPs, but from a time when everybody on screen was white. So, but what happens is you're on set, like I've had it when I was directing a show, and there was a mixture of different characters, different colors. And we turned around and we were on the black actress's face, and it was like, and it wasn't, and I was like, it's dark, it's a bit dark. Yeah. It's just because that's the way we lit it. And then literally another actor come behind my shoulder, because, you know, I think it was my first block of episodes. They were like, are you happy with it? I went, no, not really. Say something. So when it's the DOP, I said, look, can we get a bit? And Ashley, you know, the actress, and I was like, can we get just a little, I just need a little bit more light, need a bit of film, need a bit of thing, because you need to be able to see it. But they would have let it go. It would have gone through, because in their mind as well, to actually, for them to go forward and do it, they feel uncomfortable. And they totally feel uncomfortable because they think, oh, am I bringing? And again, it's that thing. But they will be translating that uncomfortable without our new Nash language. It will be, I feel bad, I feel rude. So actually, if they just replace, they go, I feel a bit uncomfortable doing that. No, it's fine, because the actress would have said, fill me with light, let me see me. It's like, I'm sick of seeing black holes on the screen. But then for the white person to hear that, they go, oh God, do you think? It's like, no, there's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable. Let's just fix it. But it's the same on all sides, you know. Makeup people, black skin is different. You can't use the same makeup. You can't, you know, it has to be, you need specifics. And also, it doesn't mean you have to be black to do it, but if you've got somebody who is of color who understands it, you'll get to be able to put different highlighting shades on girls with darker skin. It's like there's nothing wrong with feeling uncomfortable or saying I don't really know how to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like let's make that the message of this. It's fine to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, but when I actually said that to that producer, she was cross with me. She was cross
Because she
and
felt
I don't think
uncomfortable.
she would have been cross. Obviously, if I'd not been a white person, she probably would have taken it in the way that it was meant to be, just going, why is that? But because I was a white person, she was like, oh, for goodness sake, Sarah Jane, what now?
Yeah, the black people aren't saying this, so why are you?
Yeah,
That's what it would have come across.
Yeah, but I was like, but someone's got to say it, haven't they? Someone's got to, especially with
I really
that.
don't want. What I really want is what I don't want is for those experiences to stop you from like literally Donna, Sarah. I don't want those experiences to stop you from speaking out. I want you to really, like, genuinely. I really want you to embrace that uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
And just continue to speak, even when you feel that you can't. If you say something and someone is offended by that, then that's okay. You've learned something.
Yeah, can I just say, sorry, Nash.
It's okay.
I will always speak out. However, social media for me is a different thing.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
It's
I
hard.
hate it.
Good for you. It can ruin careers, though. Why should you have to put yourself out there to do that?
Well,
I'm not saying you shouldn't. No, sorry. I'm not saying you shouldn't not speak just to ruin your career, but you can't. People can't judge somebody from 160 characters on a Twitter feed. You know what I mean? So it's like using your voice, doing stuff like this, and also making comments and whatever. But it's like, again, because. But I understand. Sorry, I will let you speak. Sorry for cutting you off.
No,
But I find this is a very important thing. It's like I do monitor what I say on social media because it can be taken in lots of ways. I think very hard about what I put out, how I put it out, what it's used for. There's nothing wrong with that. And for someone to judge me and say you shouldn't be doing it by that, I said, well, you come and live my life and see how I live.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like nobody can judge you for doing what you do on your, because you, at the end of the day, it's not just about. When you're in the public eye, it's not just about you. It's about, you know, your family. It's about all the people around you. It's not just about your employment. It's about all the people who know you and know your family and what they think of them. It affects many, many people. There's many people behind you as a public figure who's like, and it's very important. It's like, I know that everything I say, my mum, when she goes to work, will be judged by it if someone's seeing it. Do you know what I mean? So you do need to monitor your public presence. Do you know what I mean? So sorry, carry on, Donna.
No, it is. I mean, I've been in the papers many times not monitoring my voice on social media, usually for just naughty, rude things, if I'm honest. But it is true. Now I'm 46, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to not say things like that.
Sorry, Donna, carry on. I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, you know, that I definitely will speak out, and that's the sort of person I am. To be honest, I don't actually give a shit. Like if people, that's the wrong words. But like if I see anything bad happening on the chuffing streets, I'll be like, what the chuff are you doing? Do you know what I mean? I'm not actually afraid of getting hurt or beaten up or anything like. Actually, there is one thing that I fear for is my weave getting pulled off. That's one thing that will frighten the shit out of me. I mean, that was viral
today as well, by the way.
But thanks, bye. But you know, I will always speak up, absolutely always, and I maybe. I don't know, because I don't put a lot on social media anyway, because I like I say, I find it very uncomfortable. I'm like, it's all very wanky, isn't it, social media? Can I say wanky? Just said it twice. Brilliant. So yeah, I understand. And you know, and doing this podcast is like you say, Jennifer, it's, you know, it's great because I'm learning things every Sunday and I love it. Thank you.
Guys, I really need your help with something, actually, because
me?
No, all of you. I need all of your help. Oh. Last week, I said something that got my mum to call me because I brought her up, and then my brother came around. And and actually quite rightly so, threw the book at me about something that I said. And that was when I said, and what it was bad timing. And I'm learning, sort of like trying to curate something like this. I said about when I was being mistaken for North African all the time. Like I kept on the, like just literally, it was almost overnight. Like I don't know if it was the area that I was going to, or it was like, Assalamu alaikum, and everybody was like, no, surely you're Eritrean or Ethiopian. And as somebody I know that I'm African. Before Grenada, there was definitely Africa, and I'm very proud of that. But it was just a new as a younger guy. You know, it was a long time ago. All of a sudden, when I was very proudly Grenadian. I'd just been to see my granddad over there, and then I was getting Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. And what I did last week is I brought my mum into it, which is not right. But I said, it wasn't what she'd said about Somalian people. She hadn't. It was just that she was working at a school that had a lot of Somalian children. They just got Somalians actually arrived en masse to the country in 1991. That was our first. So it was a new thing for me. I kind of did an impression last week as well, and I watched it back, and my brother was going, "This is not cool. It's terrible. What are you thinking?" And it was the same way. I'm not defending or what I did, but it was the same ways that I go Yama or a yeah man thing, like a Jamaican. Do you know what I mean? I would do, and I did a bit of and I could see how that could be construed as awful. But so do I want to? Yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because I wrapped it up.
You didn't say anything bad though. I've listened to that bit about 3 or 4 times afterwards, because you phoned me up saying, and I was like. And again, I'm like, I'm not being Mr. Defending everybody on the panel today, but you said, did I say negative stuff about being Somalian? I went, no. So then I watched it back. You said, my mum worked in a school that had been predominantly Somalian, and there'd been trouble or something. It had been.
No. Just because I can't cope with this week again.
Oh Lord.
Okay. No, I didn't. I said, my mum works in a school where there have been Somalian children, and it had been problematic.
Yeah, but you said but in my mind, you'd said as in her work had been problematic, and you typed,
her work,
and you typed that. You never said that. Yeah, you never said that there'd been 100. Watch it back.
But I suppose there are triggers for family on this kind of platform when you're saying these things and you're bringing people into it. But I've been looking, and since then I looked and I went, actually, I've got a North African look. Bring it on, bring it all on. I'm fully accepting, and I am fully, and I've got an Eritrean friend who actually watched it, and I said, "Oh, were you offended? Were you offended by what I said?" And she said, "No, because actually, I suppose is it like when New Zealand people, an Australian, you go, oh, you're Australian to somebody from New Zealand. No. I suppose it was a little bit of that, but in no way. I've just done a DNA test that's coming back in. When you spit into the thing and send off the DNA, and it's coming back. Bring on.
I'm 100% that bitch, but I thought you were about to say I'm 100% that bitch.
I said I'm 100% that bitch, but bring it on. If there's a DNA test, and if there's got Eritrean, Somalian, Ethiopian, yes, bring it on. There's no better black, is what I'm trying to say.
I just think there's a real lesson that you've learnt there, and that we can all take away from. Exactly the thing where you're feeling uncomfortable about something you've said. So you've gone back, you've thought about it, you've moved on, and you've learnt something, and it probably won't happen again.
And isn't that the purpose of what we've done this for?
And I think it's absolutely important to be turning the mirror on our black selves as well.
I think it's so important, like Jennifer, you really, I think you really encompass that. Like, here's the thing, this is something that you said that you have been able to look back and see how it can be problematic, regardless of whether it has been or or it has or it hasn't been. Well, my words are not with me today. This is why I write everything down. But you can see how it could be problematic, and you've gone to address that straight away.
Yeah, like
it's not something where we waited 6 months down the line, and you're doing your podcast in 6 months, and you're like, oh, someone brought this up to me like a little while ago, and I thought I would sit on it. But like, you know, when you've realized, as soon as you've realized, you've addressed it. And that, I think, is it. The moment like people do that, and rather than argue with people about whether it is or it isn't offensive, you just acknowledge that it could be to someone. And as you've done, just call it out publicly, the same way it was said publicly. Sometimes, do you know what? All we're looking for is for someone to acknowledge. Just acknowledge. Nothing more, nothing less. And it's so simple. This is why I love... Sorry, yeah, carry on.
No, carry on. You carry on.
No, I was going to say, this is why I love my boyfriend, because, like, you know, he's white. He when I say, like, look, such and such, he doesn't argue with me about it. He just says, okay, how do I make that better? Or how do I change this? Like, what can we do? And it's not a thing of like him wanting to be taught or anything like that, but he's open, and that's what we need to be. Open and just willing for it not to be nice for a couple of seconds, because once those unnice seconds are done, like, I guarantee you right now, you're like, okay, cool, that's a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah. And also, from my white point of view, that it was, and this sounds awful, and it is awful. I don't think about where because for me, Black people live in this country, so you're from this country, and that's the end of it. But so I don't think about that there's loads of different places that people can come from, and that's another lot of different cultures as well. And like you said, Nash, about we're completely different to France, and I don't think what you said, it could have been offensive, but it could be construed as the way that sometimes I get cast as East European or a fairy. Even I often get cast as a fairy, so I think it's I could be like, not another fairy, but or a cat. I'm always a cat. Why? But so I think you didn't mean it offensively. Therefore, no. And it's nice that you apologise. But also, from my point of view, so therefore, from the white people watching, I think it would have made us think, oh gosh, yeah, of course, I am so just thinking in a straight line here that I'm not even seeing that there are lots of different cultures involved in our world, in our country. And I said to Leon earlier, my friend who's a white lady with mixed race children and they don't have a father, she actually texted me, and she lives in Lincoln, so it's very, very white. And she said, I watched the first 10 minutes, and she said, and then I couldn't stop watching. And it really helped me as a white mum raising mixed race children to see what they go through. And so you should be proud of what you're doing, because in talking about things that, as Nash says, that are uncomfortable, we are opening doors for people, and we're like, Nash said about children, it is about the next generation. Yeah. It is. And certainly my children, if they were racist in any way, and like I said last week, they don't even see colour yet, which is fabulous. I don't want them to ever see colour unless they're sticking up for somebody and going, don't you dare speak to my friend like that. But if they ever did and they said something wrong, I will beat them. I won't beat them. I'll take toys off them. That'll be trouble. So
I want. So there was a program that was on. I've not watched it, but I hear people talk, and it was this whole discussion of, like, they I think they put like a group of white kids in a room and a group of black kids in a room, and the white kids were very uncomfortable talking about race, but the black kids were like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Let's have this out. But it's making sure that both groups, because it's going to be uncomfortable for a little while. It is. Let's not beat around the bush. Like, it's going to be uncomfortable for a long while. But there will come a point, and I'm hopeful there will come a point where it stops being uncomfortable to talk about race. And it's just something that we do. Like we talk about, like, yeah, I mean, it is that thing of where I say in the track, like, you know, are you uncomfortable? Do you lower your voice when you say the word black to describe a person? Like, it's such, like, you know, when people are like, oh, you know, my black friend.
Yeah, that's what triggers most people who I've watched it with. That's the one point, like my white friends, when they go, oh, as soon as that gets said, they go, and they realize it, because it's the same with any, is, you know, when people go, oh, you know, he's gay, you know, the gay one.
Yeah.
Or and it's that. And if you have to do that, then you know that it's, do you know what I mean? So, and I think that's one of the, I mean, you know me, I'm like one of your biggest poetry fans anyway, but it's like, that was, you're so clever. And when you said earlier on, your brother, if your brother's the clever one, then bloody hell. Because you, sir, are an absolute genius, and I'm made up that you came on today. Like, you've really, you inspire me all the time. So thank you so much, sir.
You're just incredible to hear you talk, and actually, it's so. It just, I will be thinking about this now for a week, and you're just. So we've got to get together in real life, actually, to meet Nash.
1 meter plus, guys. Come in, 1 meter plus, everybody. Use your common sense. What are the clappers you come out with? Should we call it a day?
Say that again.
Should we call it a day?
Let's call it a day. I am so happy.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you.
So nice to meet you.
Thanks everybody for coming on this day to chat. Yes, and we will all see you soon. Thank you, guys.
And thank you, guys.
Nash, it's okay if we put your YouTube video on social media, and is there anything?
Of course.
That you...
I mean, like,
I won't be doing that.
And we'll put links. Oh, for anybody listening, we'll put links because it was Jen brought it up last week, which was great. A couple of the things that were mentioned. So anything that's mentioned, we'll go through the podcast and we'll link it either in the podcast or on the YouTube. So there'll be a link to Nash's video and anything else that we've mentioned. If anyone can send the links over, I'll make sure they're in the description.
Yeah, and the program that Nash was referring to was the school that tried to end racism.
Oh, you said
that as well.
And I watched that one, and it's great.
I have a confession to make, Ash. I'm sorry, I just copied and pasted your thing, but I was scared of what to put in a white person way. So this week, I'm just going to put what I think, and then
Yay.
I was like, I don't know what I'm allowed to put here, so I'm just going to copy and paste that.
That's it. We've got to get rid of all that.
So I won't do that this week.
Yeah.
Right. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody. Take care.
Stay blessed.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.